Are you a business owner struggling to understand the business that you're in? If you answer yes to this question, to that question, then this video is for you. I learned the importance of understanding business is to do business, and when you start to do business, you start to learn things. So this video is going to be about the 3 lessons that business has taught me while being in it over the last half a decade, and everything that I've learned so far. One thing that I discovered is that business is an ever evolving thing. You never know what you're going to discover until you actually take that first step and put yourself out there, start doing the work, start figuring out who your customers is. And not gonna lie, it is a journey of discovery. Not only discovery of your business, but discovery of yourself. And the reason why that's so important is because when you start to understand that you're discovering more of yourself, the 3 lessons that business has taught me, this video is going to be great. So make sure you got your pen, make sure you got your notebooks. We're talking deep, we're talking heavy, we're talking about the lessons that I've learned while being in business. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And in addition to that, just because it's a lot doesn't mean it's not possible. But what it does mean is that I want to come on here and speak about the things that I've learned. So first thing first, you got to find mentors. I made a post about this earlier today, and I got to talking about what did I say? The 3 lessons that business has taught me. I did a post about it, and I wrote a story behind it. And so with that, I started to understand more about why it's important to get around the right people in business. So first thing first, you have to find mentors. And the reason why this is the first point is because I give you a prime example. I went to an interview today, and it's so I can get accepted in the program. As I went to this program, walking around, communicating with people, talking to people, I started to see the importance of being in business, the importance of mentors. This guy, the one who was interviewing me, had countless amount of experience before me, or more than me. And this is not my first mentorship program. I've been through a lot of programs. In fact, I just finished one a couple weeks ago. Nonetheless, as we are talking, he's asked me about my business. I'm telling him, he was like, all right, so pitch your business. I was like, all right, cool. We help leaders gain more exposure, share their story, and attract the right customers. And so now when he heard that, he was like, all right, okay. He got to ask me questions. And the questions that he got to ask me made me think about my responses. I'm like, all right, some of the stuff is practice. Some of the stuff is rehearsed. And what happened, what I discovered is that the right mentor pull out the information that's not rehearsed, that's not talked about on a daily basis, that's not discussed consistently. Shout out to Action Zone. She just got out that program. Action Zone is a program for veterans, first responders, and service members who trying to get in business as well. When I started to go and be around people that's doing business, my interest just multiplied. My interest just increased because we are speaking the language that I dream of speaking about, or that I dream of doing. When you get in business, going or finding your mentors is so important. It's so critical, so needed. Because if you don't find a mentor, how are you going to figure out the thing, the information, the point, to how to go from point A to point B if you haven't discovered yourself? And what I also recognize is that when you find a mentor, a lot of these mentors are already mentoring people. So they see patterns, they see recognition, they see something that's there. And when I started to like really get into business, I'm like, all right, cool. So how can I get in business for myself? And what's the business I'm trying to do? Somebody say, encourage your viewers to share live. Oh yeah, share live, share the live, share the live. And so when I started to really understand that mentors will help you understand business faster because they've been through what you are trying to go through, or what you are currently experiencing. And the last mentorship program that I was in, they every session that was like, what's stopping you from making money? My thing that was stopping me, I just want to be 100% transparent, was the lack of clarity. Hold on. Lack of clarity. And the reason why I say lack of clarity is because I had to really I had to really adjust my business model like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. And I had to change and adjust it because like when I go out and communicate with people or when I'm talking to people and I'm trying to sell something, I'm trying to sell them something, I start to see that a lot of people ain't buying. A lot of people ain't buying, and it's just because they're not buying, it doesn't mean that I'm doing something wrong. Maybe what I'm trying to sell, or maybe what I'm talking about ain't there. What is not presented right. What it taught me is that when you find mentors for your business or for your journey, eventually the mentors will help you gain more clarity. And that's exactly what happened. They helped me gain more clarity. Oh no, what I just. Oh, there we go. Hold on. All right, there we go. My mentors helped me gain more clarity, and what they did is that it helped me feel like that I wasn't alone. In business and entrepreneurship, there's a time and journey when like you feeling alone is a real thing, but your mentors are there to actually help you understand everything that you're doing. When I start to get around more people who has more experience, who's doing different businesses, who can help me along my path, I started to see growth. I started to see growth because I started to do what they suggested, and then sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what happens is that as I'm putting myself out there consistently, as I'm trying to do business, as I'm learning the lessons in business, doing business comes from understanding that you have to do business. Hold on. Lack of clarity. I said that I had lack of clarity. Well, I had lack of clarity because I had to pivot my business model a couple of times. He literally talked to me in the interview today. I'm glad he drew it out because it helped me so much. And it even like helped me so much, but it helped me understand that you're not really alone. You're not alone. There's a lot of people that's going through certain different things. And so the way he drew it, was like this. He was like, you start your journey, you start your entrepreneurship journey, and then you get on this path, and then you go, and then right here is where you go and figure it out, and then you just explode, like you just go all over the place. When I saw that, he asked me, he was like, so where are you at now? Honestly speaking, like, where are you at now? I was like, now I'm at the point where I understand the business I'm doing. Before then, I was trying to figure out what I was doing, but of course, like going to different mentorship programs, different programs, overall, they help you gain more clarity, gain more direction. So I started to see like the information that I was implementing taught me the business that I'm in. In addition to that, finding mentors is a cheat code to your success because they will help you go from point A to point B. I don't need to skip steps. I don't need to try to be everywhere and do all different things. But what I do need to do is understand that this journey that I'm on is going to be a whole process. It's going to be a whole journey. It's going to be a whole journey of discovery. If I'm able to discover the business that I'm in and do the business accordingly, I can eventually start helping a lot more people. With that help, I will be positioned differently because now I'm able to understand the business that I'm in. So when you find mentors, you are finding people who are more experienced than you. When you find mentors, you are finding mentors who understand what you are going through. When you find mentors, they literally can help you go from point A to point B. What is point A, point B? Point A is not clarity. Point B is gaining the clarity. And then when you go to another mentor, like you might not get a lot of things from everybody, and that's absolutely okay. But the more people that you communicate with, the more things that you can get from people. And I started to understand, I was like, oh, the 3 lessons that I learned in business, the first one is finding mentors. Finding mentors is literally a cheat code. It's like me going to YouTube and say, how can I start my business? It's like going to YouTube and say, how can I start my business with $0? Or it's like going to YouTube and really put it in. But the only difference is that when you go to YouTube and type it in, you don't have communication with these people. These people not talking to you. These people not communicating with you. They're not asking you questions. They're not helping you gain clarity. And I started to understand, I was like, oh, wait, the difference between online mentors or social media mentors is that the mentors on social media don't necessarily speak to their community. And I was like, oh, when you find a mentor, your mentor has to be willing to talk to you, because it's just something that happened when you are talking to a person. And then they see things differently than you. But when you start to see things differently and in a new perspective, a new level of understanding, you start to understand like, wait, hold on. That actually makes sense. But then when you go try it, then it makes sense because of this. It makes sense because of that. It makes sense because when I went out to talk to different people and asked them about different things, I started to see the responses that I was receiving. In addition to that, the responses that I received helped me understand that what my mentors were saying was absolutely great. But just because they said one particular thing, I had to learn how to let it work for me. I had to let it work for me. A new level of understanding. Yes, a new level of understanding. When you find a mentor, you gain a new level of understanding. It's not about figuring out everything all at once. No, absolutely not. If you figure out everything all at once, kudos to you. Nonetheless, it takes time to discover everything when you're in business. And when you start to do business consistently, everything's going to change. Everything's going to change. There's this terminology called epiphanies. Shout out to my wife. Every time I go to her, I have a new epiphany. I have a new thought process. I have a new way of thinking. I'm like, babe, I figured it out. And the reason why I go to her is because she's my wife. Two, because I'm like, I got to get it out of my head. I'm like, I think I figured it out. When I think I figured it out, but here's why I figured it out. When you gain a new level of understanding, you get around mentors, or you get around people that understand your epiphany, they understand your thought process. I saw this one video. It was like a young teenager, and she was selling like, what was it? I think it was like watches or something. She was selling something. She spent all her money to go buy something to bring in more revenue, to bring in more money as well. And so when she did that, her mom got upset and was like, why would you do that? Like, that's the worst thing ever, and you should never have done that. And I'm looking at it from a different perspective. I'm like, that's good. Because you have to be willing to take risk. You have to take risk for the business that you want to have, because the business that you want to have will help you gain a better understanding, will help you gain a new understanding. And when I saw that, I said, oh, one day she's going to figure it out. One day she's going to refer back to that video of her mom saying that you should have never done that. This is the worst mistake ever. And then she's going to actually be in better position because she's able to take risks. When you find a mentor, your mentor understands the risk that you're taking. It's not the fact that people don't understand what you're doing, but the mentors have taken the risk multiple different times, and they start to position you differently to go from point A to point B. What is point A and what is point B? Point A is lack of clarity. Point B is more clarity. When I started to understand, and I said, man, I need to get around more people. I need to get around more people. I need to learn from other people, because if I'm only learning from myself, I'm not actually learning. If I learn from other people's experiences, if I learn from different books, if I learn from different places, eventually I will get it. Eventually. But it's gaining the knowledge that will help me understand the importance of mentorship. Mentorship is like finding a mentor is the cheat code to figuring out everything that you would like to do, because someone has already done what you are trying to do. And when I started to see that, when I started to notice that, I was like, oh, mentors are really important. Hold on. Mentors are really important, because someone who has more experience than you doesn't mean that they're better than you. It just means that they have more experience. And so when they have more experience, you have to understand that you are gaining the knowledge, you are gaining the skills, you are gaining the experience. You can't wake up and say I got all the experience that a 30-year experienced person has. Like, you just can't do that. There's some things that you have to go through yourself to experience, and there's some things that's hard to explain. And we was talking. I was like, oh, dang, what I say? I was like, I had to change my business model again. But then, dang, what I say? I said something, but then I was like, well, you can't read that in the book. Oh, he asked me on my YouTube channel got compromised. And I shared with him like what happened. And I told him, I was like, well, You can't read that in the book because you have to naturally experience that. Like you have to experience something happening to you in a worst case scenario. When you find a mentor for your business, you're saying, I'm seeking help. I'm seeking guidance. I'm seeking information. Because when you seek guidance, knowledge, and information, you gain the wisdom for your business. Like for instance, like this is my fifth attempt of growing a podcast, trying to grow a media business, but it's understanding like, well, what are you selling? Okay, are you selling anything? If my first time, I was trying to figure out what I was selling. My second time, I was like, I think I got a better understanding behind it. My third time, it's like, I got to revert back to the first one. But understanding that when you find a mentor, you're going to gain a better understanding every single day. And that understanding might be different than the last understanding. That understanding might be different than the last change. That understanding might be different than the epiphany that you just recently had. Because when you gain the epiphany, like, man, this is what that means. This is what that means. This is what I'm supposed to do. You start to position your understanding differently. Why? Because the action that you're taking is the action that comes from your understanding. So the first point that we just went over is that you have to find mentors. When you find mentors, you are, hold on, here we go. It's right here. You are learning from their experience. You are learning from their experience. And that's important because when you learn from other people's experience, you're not gonna like really multiply your success. You're gonna quadruple and whatever the terminology is, you're gonna increase it so much because you're not trying to figure everything out by yourself. So the next point we're gonna hit on is that the three lessons that I learned by being in business. The next one is that what I say. What was it? You have to take action. The next one, you have to take action. You have to take action. And the reason why you have to take action, because if you just read book, these are all books, by the way. These are all books, by the way. If you just read your books and don't apply the information, then you didn't learn anything. Then you didn't learn. And the reason why that's so important is because, prime example, in 2022, I read 22 books about real estate. And through that time, I only closed one real estate deal, one real estate wholesale deal. And during that time, I'm like, man, what am I doing wrong? It's not the fact that I'm doing anything wrong. It's just that I wasn't doing enough of it. I wasn't doing enough of reaching out to homeowners. I wasn't doing enough of following up with everybody. I wasn't doing enough. I was doing the bare minimum. And what that taught me is that, yes, I had all the information in the world, but it did nothing for me because I wasn't able to close more deals. I just had to figure out how to go about doing it. Speaking of finding mentors, shout out to Mike and Briglio and Steve Anderson, because they gave me the honor of joining their team and learning the business. Like every day we was cold calling. Every day we was talking to homeowners. Every day we was doing the work, and I was learning and I was doing the work. And they let me join their team, and I was just learning a lot. Like it was a lot of information to learn. However, my mentors, they taught me a lot about business. And it taught me, I'm like, well, if you're going to be a business, you have to do it every single day. You have to be consistent. You have to consistently reach out to people. My challenge now was that as I'm reaching out to people, I want to make sure I have the right product. I want to make sure I have the right thing that I'm selling. I'm not trying to be perfect, because as I'm going out, I'm talking to people. I'm talking to future customers. And what this is helping me do is that it's helping me gather data. It's helping me gather information. And I literally have like different posts and different community, different notes and whatnot about different people that I've spoken with about the problems that they're facing. I recognize that if I want to be in business, I thought it was going to be around helping leaders launch their podcast with confidence. And then when I get around leaders and talk and pitch what I'm doing and talk to them, it's not even the fact that launching your podcast is not a great business. It's more so that a lot of leaders or business owners are very busy. So they don't have time to sit down and just record episode after episode after episode after episode, which means that it becomes overwhelming, because now for me, trying to help them launch their podcast with confidence, I had to pivot my business model again. And when I started to pivot my business model, it taught me, well, if you're not getting the right success that you're looking for, you have to be willing to pivot and change and update and model. Because until you recognize the problem that you're solving, the problem that you are solving or focusing on has to be the right one for the customer that you're going for. So the problem that you are focused on, you have to focus on it every single day. When you take action, you learn the problem that you are focused on. The problem that you are focused on has to be the main message, main thing every single day. Because the more people start to understand the problem that you're solving, the more people start to understand the problem that you can solve. I'm reading this book, and it's called the SEO book. And it's talking about, I think it's called the SEO book. Hold on. Now I got to look it up. SEO for Growth, the ultimate guide for marketers, web designers, and entrepreneurs. And they talk about how you have to be everywhere. It's not just about SEO or having the right hashtags or the keywords or anything of that nature. It's literally being everywhere where your customer is there. So that way, when your customer is ready to purchase something, you are there because you identify the problem that you solve. And that helped me, because it's like, well, if I can understand the problem that I'm solving, if I focus on the problem that I need to solve, the problem that I'm going to solve would be the problem I'm always speaking about. And what problem is that I'm solving now? The problem that I'm focused on today is helping leaders gain more exposure, share their story, and attract the right customers. And when I started to understand and pitch and go out to different people, and I'm starting to see and receive feedback from it and gain the level of understanding, like maybe I'm owning something, because a lot of entrepreneurs do not know how to market their business. In addition to that, they don't have time to grow a loyal fan base. And so I'm like, all right, cool. How can I position myself differently to actually have a business? It's not just about content creation, it's just not about podcasting. How can I have a business around helping leaders gain more exposure, share their story, and attract the right customers? That's when I started to understand that I'm applying that information now. I'm applying everything that I'm learning, or everything that I have learned from my mentors, from different mentors, different times, different places. I'm actually learning, because what I'm learning is making a difference. The difference that is making is that I'm able to gain the experience. The experience that I'm gaining is becoming a better business owner. And so when you take action, you have to take the right action. Like, for instance, when you take the right action, hold on. When you take the right action, hold on, there we go. Right action equals more customers. So it's the action that you're doing translating to more customers. So in my personal opinion, so the business that I'm building is a media business where we help leaders gain exposure, share the story, and attract more customers, attract the right customers. What I started to recognize is that people are starting to reach out to me for the podcast. One, because the podcast is consistent. Two, if I focus on the podcast and really start to create a system around it, I will eventually be able to have more people come on, share the story, and attract the right customers. Okay, so how do you get paid from that? How do you have a business around that? That's what I'm discovering right now. And I actually discovered it within the last week or so, or 2 weeks ago, prior to me leaving or the last mentorship program ending, is really just understanding, okay, how can I position a podcast? Because 99% of people look at podcasting as a free tool. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's not a free tool. Well, it is a free tool, but the sponsoring is what is going to make money from it. So I'm watching MTV, and I'm watching the CEO of MTV, Bob Pittman, if I'm not mistaken, and he's talking about sponsorship, advertisers, different business, and them sponsoring on the platform. So I'm listening to it. I'm listening to the language. I'm listening to what he's saying. I'm listening to why he's saying it. But then I'm like, all right, cool. So how can I do that for myself? How can I start working with companies, organizations, so they can start advertising on my platform? So I'm like, wait, hold on. The podcast is the introduction. If I go out and meet people there and come on to learn their story, then I inform them, well, we also have sponsorship opportunities where your episode can be promoted across 6,000 people. I started to understand. I'm like, wait, hold on. That's different. That's different because one, if I introduce the podcast to people and I lower the barrier and I lower the skepticism and I lower the, hey man, he trying to sell me. Excuse me. And I introduce, hey, we do offer sponsorship opportunities. If you would like to sponsor our platform or have more people learn more about your business, then you can definitely sponsor it. What it's teaching me is how to position it. Now that I have the right problem that I'm solving, if I solve the right problem consistently over and over again, taking the right action comes from me speaking to the right customers. It comes from me speaking to more customers. It comes from me actually putting myself out there consistently. And so in business, you have to understand that if you're not taking action, if you're not speaking to customers, if you're not speaking to people, you're not doing anything for your business. I'm recognizing that if I want to have a successful business, I have to start selling something. And the something that I'm selling, it took me a long time to discover because I didn't know it was a thing to sell. In fact, I didn't recognize how to position it. And so now that I'm understanding how to, the mentors, based off the first point that we talked about, finding mentors, they help you gain clarity, help you go from not having clarity to having clarity. And so now that I have the clarity based off the conversations that I've been having, I've had to change it. I have to pivot. I had to update everything that I've been doing. That's absolutely fine. That's part of business. What happens is that now that it's updated, now what? Now that it's updated, now what? So what I started to do is that I'm starting to position my business differently. Now, I went to an event the other day. It was a New Year's Eve event. My wife and I went to a New Year's Eve event. And during this event, we're talking to people and communicating with people and just having a good time. Like towards the end of it, one of the people that was there gave me their website. He was like, bro, I ain't had no business card in quite some time. He was like, just go on my website. I go on his website and you can literally see the business that he's in. He's in the real estate business. Another person from the event sent me their website for me to read and gain more information about. I saw that. I said, I'm doing business wrong. Because my website is up. I can't see nobody in my website right now, but I will. And when I saw that, I said, oh, taking the right action is setting everything up. I don't need to set everything up all at once, but everything needs to be in place so I can be consistent. And that alone takes time. Yet the time that it takes away time to go speak with customers. I know because the time that I put into trying to put the calendar together, the events together, the emails together, is so overwhelming. Yet the time that you put in there is much needed because you have to set everything up as a business. As I started to take action, I'm setting everything up as a business so it can be repeated, it can be consistent, and I can do it on a daily basis. If I have a way of doing something over and over and over again, I'm going to do it more often. I'm going to do it to help more people. I'm just going to do it more frequently. And so as I'm starting to take the action, it has to be consistent. And I know consistency is a challenge that I had in the beginning of my journey. Now I know what I'm doing. I just have to speak to more people. I just have to communicate with more people. I just have to be in front of more people. I just have to follow more people. I have to talk to more people. I have to present more offers. Why? Because I understand what I'm selling now. I'm understanding what I'm selling now. The business that I'm in, I understand how to solve a problem of helping leaders get more exposure, share the story, and attract the right customers. Why? Because if I'm able to help people be positioned differently, I just solved the problem. And that problem can only be solved if I take the right action. So The right action equals more customers. And yes, as a one-man team with ChatGPT, it's overwhelming. Yet at the same time, it's doable because it's not the end of the world. It's not bad. In addition to that, I'm able to learn what's working and what's not working and how much I need to pivot or how soon I need to pivot. Because if I can notice that, I will be able to pivot faster. So we just went over the two lessons of the three lessons of how to find mentors. Hold on. First, you have to find mentors for your business. Two, you have to take action. If you just reading books and not applying the information that you have received, then you just reading books. You just gaining the knowledge, which is nothing wrong, but you're not applying the information. Lastly, is that you have to be patient. You have to be patient. And being patient comes from you doing the work every single day and recognizing that just because you show up every single day, nothing might not happen today, but it could happen 2 weeks from now. Nothing might not happen today, but it could happen a month from now. Nothing might not happen today, but it could happen 2 months from now. It's being patient for your journey because you never know when your work is going to pay off. Being patient, be patient equals what I say, paying off over time. Slowly paying off. Hold on, I gotta rewrite that. Hold on. I gotta rewrite that. Slowly paying off. Be patient. It's slowly paying off. Why? Because instant success is not a real thing. Sometimes people get lucky, but for you to get up every single day and do the work every single day, eventually you start to see the outcome. Eventually you start to see the results. Eventually you start to see something different. The 3 lessons that I've learned in business is 1, you have to find mentors. 2, you have to take action. 3, you have to be patient. You have to be patient consistently, because if you're not showing up consistently, the work that you're doing consistently won't matter because you're not showing up every day. In business, the reason why that's so important is because when you position yourself differently, when you show up every single day, the work that you are doing comes from the action that you're taking, and the results that's created is the amount of action that you're taking on a daily basis. And I started to recognize, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not taking enough action, so I need to start taking more action. So that's what I'm about to actually start doing. Take more action. I have everything in place. I have everything I need. I just need to go out and do it more often. Do it more frequently. Do it more consistently. Why? Because if I do it more consistently, more outcomes will come from that. I'm not looking to do it in an inconsistent manner. No, absolutely not. As I'm doing it consistently, there will be changes. As I'm doing it consistently, there will be feedback. As I'm doing it consistently, there will be results. So I have to be patient on the results that I'm trying to accomplish or the goals that I'm trying to achieve, because if I take daily action on the right action will be rewarding, because I will have more people to serve. I will have more people to help. I will have more income to fund the business. But before the income comes, before the more people come, before the more difference come, I have to show up every single day. And so now that being patient is understanding, is like, well, okay, what are you being patient for? You're being patient for the right customer to come, and as they're coming to you, you're providing value, you're solving the problem, you're identifying the problem, and you're helping them understand, like, well, you can solve the problem because you solved the problem for other people. And so that's what my goal is. My goal is to solve the problem that I have been focused on, so that way the problem that I'm solving will help a lot more people. And so now that I understand that, well, it's really just doing the work. It's really, it boils down to me doing the work consistently. It boils down to me following up. It boils down to me reaching out. It boils down to me doing the work. You can only create the results that you're looking to create if you're willing to do the work. I'm willing to do the work. I already have the information. I already have the skills. I got asked the question, so how long have you been officially doing it? I told him, like, last 2 years, like, officially been learning about the business. He was like, well, so what's slowing you down? I was like, well, I had to pivot a lot. I had to pivot a lot, man. Like I'm thinking I got the right problem and I know what I'm solving, but in reality, it's like, well, you don't, because you got to continue to do it. And you got to continue to change. You got to continue to update. And so it really taught me that the business is ups and downs, like what is called ebbs and flows or something like that. One moment you up, excuse me. One moment you down, but just because you down, you're not gonna always stay down. In the movie Rocky Balboa, I think Rocky 3 or something like that, Rocky had got knocked down, and his trainer, he was like, "Get up." He was like, "Get up." He was like, "Doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. It matters how many times you get up. You got to get up every time you get knocked down. Every just because there's a down in your journey, everything's not working in your favor. Every you're not gaining the customers, doesn't mean you can't get up every single day and go do the work." So what I've learned is that when you do the right action consistently, you will see the results that you're looking for. And when you position yourself differently, you start to see the results that you have been working for. But yet, before they come, you have to be willing to work for it. And so I wanted to produce this episode, because the biggest challenge that I learned while being in business is that trying to do everything by myself, or trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go and how I'm supposed to do it. But in reality, it's like when you really understand what you are doing and how to go about doing it, you have to do it more often. So the three lessons that I learned while being in business is that, one, you have to find mentors. You have to find people who are more experienced than you. When you find people who are more experienced than you, they can give you a new level of understanding. Shout out to my mom, she said, a new level of understanding. And when you have a new level of understanding, you have to take action. That's the second point. You have to take action on the understanding that you just gained. When you take action on the understanding that you have, you will eventually be able to have the results that you're looking to create. Last one that we talked about is that you have to be patient. It's not going to pay off today. In fact, it can pay off over time. And as it's paying off over time, you have to show up every day to take action and to do the right action for the work, for the business that you're in. So if you enjoyed this, make sure you leave your biggest takeaway from the 3 lessons I shared while being in business. Let me know your biggest takeaway from that. Let me know in the comments. Love to read it. Make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you hit that like. And lastly, you're one failure away from you learning everything that you need to learn, so that way your business your business can gain more exposure for your business. So until next time, I'll see y'all in the next video.